I just saw The Flash opening weekend and I have some thoughts on it. Some good, some bad, but let's start with the positives. Ezra Miller's portrayal of Barry Allen in The Flash is probably the best it's ever been in this film. We see him side by side with his 18-year-old annoying self, and we realize just how much he has matured over time. This younger Barry also still has his mother, while older Barry has lost her at a young age, and probably caused him to grow up a lot quicker as well. Ezra's Barry goes through quite a range of emotions throughout this movie, and I honestly think Ezra Miller handled all these scenes really well. The Flashpoint is a beloved Flash storyline written by Jeff Johns, and it was quite cool to see this adapted even if it is a very loose adaptation. Some may wish they just adapted the story completely from the comics, but I kinda like the angle they did here as well. Although I think we can all agree it was a missed opportunity not to have Jeffrey Dean Morgan play Thomas Wayne as Flashpoint Batman. That could have been spectacular. But most Flash fans know this story by heart now. Barry goes back in time to change the past to keep his mother from dying and all chaos breaks loose. For the most part, I did not mind the changes in different characters for the story in the movie, even if it did have some really missed opportunities. Also, no reverse Flash. That felt a little sinful, especially when an actor like Anthony Starr is out there. Probably the reason you went to see this film. I think personally Keaton's Batman is the best part of the movie. Even at 70 years old, Keaton still feels like Batman. Some may not like the character's end, but the best way to look at this is it's just one version of Keaton's Batman. Maybe not necessarily Tim Burton's version. It was great to see Michael Keaton get some glorious Batman fight scenes as well, something severely lacking in his own films. I will say he goes full-blown Batfleck warehouse in one scene. Not as long and probably not as good, but it is still fantastic. I think Sasha put in a great performance as an alternate version of Supergirl. Instead of Kal-El being imprisoned underground, Barry finds Kara. Barry not being sure who she is, he saves her anyways. Once she soaks in the sun, we see her get her powers. It was a very cool scene. The emotion when she finds out that Kal-El was killed was pretty amazing. For the little screen time she had, I thought she was wonderful. We get a few little glimpses of what could have been with the DC universe. Seeing Ben Affleck's Batman and Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman with the Flash teaming up in the beginning does have a Saturday morning Justice League vibe, and I mean that in a good way. It just shows what maybe could have been with this shared universe. Affleck has a little heart-to-heart scene with Barry, and I think it was pretty great. It seems like this may be the last of the Batfleck, and it kinda leaves you just wanting more. The other cameos are a little more short and really just glimpses of alternate realities Barry sees while in the Speed Force. One being Christopher Reeve and Helen Slater as Superman and Supergirl. One with George Reeves as Superman. We see Adam West's Batman with his Robin, and my personal favorite, and honestly one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie, Nicolas Cage as Superman fighting the Thanagarian Beast, aka a metal spider. I never thought that movie would work until I saw those 30 seconds. Now I want to see that whole movie. If Keaton can suit up as Batman at 70, maybe we can convince DC to get Tim Burton and Nicolas Cage on the phone and just make it happen. Or just make it into an animated movie or a graphic novel. I see potential for something truly unique with that story, but maybe it's just best left to the imagination. Either way, I absolutely love this cameo. I just wish it wasn't completely CGI, and that goes for all of them. I think the cameos would have been way more effective using old footage with some, and maybe let Cage finally suit up for this little scene. While it was still amazing, it's still a little bit of a missed opportunity. Okay, now I will get into the more negative side of the movie. One part of the movie that bothered me, as well as my wife, who is a normie to comic book stuff, is that Barry Allen in this movie didn't seem to care who murdered his mother. It seemed like a rather odd story decision, and maybe they deliberately avoided this because of the TV show, but it just didn't sit right with me. It's either going to work for you, or it's going to be a long movie. While the movie goes for quite a lot of jokes, only a few really worked for me personally. I can understand why people will love or hate the comedy in this. While I found the Back to the Future jokes pretty funny, A younger audience may be completely thrown off by it. I guess those jokes could be aimed for more of the Michael Keaton fans in the audience. Younger Barry has a pretty over-the-top obnoxious laugh, and it honestly kind of reminds me of the surfer dude from SpongeBob. The comedy was a mixed bag for me, but it still did get a few good laughs out of me as well. Yeah, they're pretty bad for a big budget movie. I'm not sure if they just had no idea what they wanted to do with the Speed Force, but a lot of it just looked almost like a TV budget. I was hoping to feel blown away as the Flash starts running, but it kind of just felt like on the same level as the CW Flash. Zack Snyder's handling of the Flash's speed looks so much better to me. I think they missed the mark pretty big on this. The green screen is also quite noticeable at times, and while not all the effects are bad, it's just the ones that are look very noticeable and may take some out of the movie. I'm a sucker for an amazing soundtrack, but I'm not sure one musical note stuck out in this movie, which is a shame. When you watch The Batman or Man of Steel or Batman 89, they all have iconic themes. With The Flash, nothing stuck out to me. While I praised him for doing his best work as Barry Allen and The Flash, they have never felt anything remotely like Barry Allen from the comic or any animated version of the character that I have seen. Now, characters can change over time, and one medium can affect how they are portrayed in the future, but I just don't really connect with Ezra's Barry the way I did with Grant Gustin's, who feels a little more similar to the Barry we know. I don't blame Ezra Miller as much as I blame Zack Snyder for casting him in the role. He just doesn't fit the personality of Barry Allen, in my opinion. While the movie is full of fun cameos, I couldn't help but notice they did not bring in John Wesley Shipp to play some version of the Flash, who was the original Barry Allen from the 90s TV series, who also revisited multiple versions of the character in the Arrowverse, and also the lack of Grant Gustin's Flash. It could have been really awesome to see them all together in a scene. I'm not sure why they avoided bringing them in. It seems Grant Gustin was open to the idea, unless they were just worried about Grant Gustin overshadowing Ezra Miller's version of the Flash, or that people would think he's taking over the Flash franchise, or something along those lines. But all that said, it feels like a missed opportunity in the highest degree as far as cameos go. While I enjoyed the film in some aspects, a lot was left to be desired. I thought it was okay, but I really wanted to love this movie, which sadly, I didn't feel like I did. I'm glad to see a lot of people are loving it, as there is a lot to love. I just think it could have been so much more, especially this being the Flash's first solo movie. Unfortunately, the movie got a little overhyped before the release, maybe trying to make up for the behind-the-scenes issue this film faced. But if you think this is the best superhero movie, I can respect that. I just wish I felt the same way, and maybe over time I will. Some movies take a while to grow on me. I'll definitely revisit The Flash soon. Tell me what you thought of the movie down below.